You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service, your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons, that's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/try us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. First and foremost, again, I switched over to a new recording thing. You got to bear with me and be patient. I've done probably 2,500, close to 3,000 episodes using only one thing ever. And I'm trying something different, so it's going to take me a little bit to kind of get used to the key bindings and everything else. The audio levels, I'm not exactly sure. There's not a universal thing to try to figure that all out. So if it happens to be lower, I don't really know what all to do. So just keep letting me know what you're hearing and what's going on, and I'll try to correct it as we go here. I thought the last one went well, but I guess there were still some issues. But we'll figure it out. All right. Well, kind of a weird and confusing thing, because I released the last podcast, which we didn't even know Jordan would be getting a contract. I did leave open the possibility it could happen prior to that happening, and then obviously I released the sort of breaking news thing on top of that. So we're kind of starting fresh here with the actual podcast, and now that we know the contract is out, we had training camp happen, we've had Jordan Love speak, the coach speak, the GM speak. We got a bunch of reactions from a bunch of angry Bears and apparently Vikings. I don't know. I think a lot of Packer fans really dislike the Vikings because for some reason they interact with Vikings fans. I saw Nagler did a video about how Vikings fans are screaming about how it was over. I haven't seen a single reaction from a Vikings fan. Nothing. The only reaction I got from a Vikings fan was my boy Peter, and he just says, as a Vikings fan who's never had a homegrown franchise quarterback that came in as a rookie contract and received an extension in my lifetime, please tell me how good of a feeling it is. So you understand why I struggle to go at the Vikings. I don't have negative interactions ever. So I don't know, man. I post stuff and it's all Bears. It's all Bears, and then you got the guys who just, their entire identity is Aaron Rodgers. That's their entire identity. They are in love with Aaron Rodgers. They can't let it go. They're obsessed. They're angry that they were wrong, but they just can't let that go. And they want to hang on to hope that maybe they weren't wrong and that Jordan isn't good and that everybody that likes Jordan was still wrong and all this stuff. I don't know. We'll get into all that because there's a lot of stupid things being said. But where do we even begin? Well, let's start with this. Let's do this a little bit different. We'll go through training camp. I'm not going to go incident by incident. I actually did a live stream. If you missed it, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I'm going to be doing it again tomorrow is the plan anyways. Sometimes things change. But if you want more of a blow by blow, you can go check out that video. It's up on YouTube. Essentially, the way that this panned out, I even mentioned this is almost perfect. I talked about, the question of, I wonder if maybe the offense gets off to a little bit of a slow start because the defense is all revved up. Everything's just going out of control right now. And it's a tough environment to step into, especially with the aggression of the defense. And that's exactly what happened. It was one of the uglier startings to Jordan Love training camp, whatever. It wasn't just his fault, but he was, I want to say, 0 for 5 to start off with a pick. It was brutal. The offensive line, again, getting absolutely decimated. I know Rashawn Gary got home. I know Wyatt got home. I know Kenny Clark got home. I don't know about anybody else. I know I heard about, I think it was Brooks or Wooden, one of the two. I can't ever remember which one's which. One of them had gotten home at some point. Is one of those. He probably got a sack, but they got the playoff anyways type of deals because it's training camp, so there are no actual sacks. So the offensive line was getting decimated. Jordan was under constant pressure. There was a video that actually came out about the pick, and I tried to time it. I should go back and find it and actually time it from the time of the snap until the pressure. It had to have been less than 2 seconds. When 2 Packers defenders were in Jordan Love's face, he did a fadeaway jumper trying to get it, over the defenders and to Musgrave, and ended up sailing over Musgrave. Quay Walker makes a diving interception. So again, we've got interceptions. I've mentioned before, it's a certain thing to be able to actually get the takeaways. Right, it's not just an automatic. It's not there are errant passes that go to defenders and they're got their hands on their head like, oh, I should have had that. That's generally what the Packers defense has done. They have had more interceptions in training camp than I have ever, probably already in any 2 training camps I've ever seen combined. I mean in a year, there has to have been a dozen interceptions through the first 5 practices. It's unheard of, the amount of interceptions. But we had Javon Bullard, I believe, had a pick 6. I think those were the 2 interceptions of the day. I don't remember specifically if there were any more. But the point is, though, the hope, and I even said this live on stream, I think the best case scenario would be Jordan Love shakes it off, and he did. He after that first series, they kind of stepped back. There was pictures of him standing over with the wide receivers, kind of talking things out. He came back and shredded the defense, and not because the defense wasn't doing the right things. There was tight coverage. There was a deep, about almost 50-yard, I think it was 45-yard pass to Christian Watson. Tight coverage from Eric Stokes. It was stride for stride, but Jordan just put it in the right spot. Christian laid out for it and caught it. Passes to Musgrave and Dobbs, and just moving nonstop. Pressure's still coming. The coverage is still tight, but Jordan's making it work. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it any better. The defense was all fired up. The offense had enough of it. There were multiple fights in this. There was at least 2. One of them where a guy took a swing. I think the first fight, was Wicks and Nixon. Wicks and Nixon. That's should make that a band. Wicks and Nixon. Nixon Wixon? No, Nixon Wixon. Wicks and Nixon. That's what it is. I like that. They got into it. Brief scuffle that got broken up. But, you couldn't have laid it out any better. You've got a defense that is absolutely dominating. They're very, very talented. They're aggressive. They're angry. They're in everybody's face. They're downhill. I don't think the run game did a single thing all day. Every single update I heard from a running back, and there weren't many, it was almost all passing, but almost every single update that I heard was that a linebacker came up and made a big stop, or multiple players made a stop. It was McKinney and Clark or something. It was these combo tackles. There's guys everywhere just swarming constantly. As far as the defenders that maybe got picked on, and I don't know if picked on is necessarily fair, but when Jordan Love was kind of going at him, I heard multiple, McKinney was in coverage, McKinney. Now, that probably just means that, you're going after those deep guys coming across the middle in front of McKinney, would be my guess. But they figured something out. Jordan figured something out, started finding those weak spots. And again, one of the things with this type of defense is that it's really fast. There's going to be places to go, but you're not going to have a lot of time, and you as a defensive coordinator depend on the corners to at least stay somewhat in the area. So you have to react quickly. You're probably going to have to move and throw on the move, and you're going to have to be accurate doing it. If you can do that, you can tear these guys up, and he was able to do it. Act quickly, get the ball out quickly, throw accurately to the open guys, and you can make this thing work. So I couldn't have been any happier with the results of that. I think we had our number 3 kicker. I don't even remember his name at this point. The guy that's not going to make the squad out of Michigan. I believe he's out of Michigan. He was, I think, 2 for 3 again, maybe 6 for 7, something like that, on the day, or 5 of 6. I don't know. But I don't expect him. I think he missed an extra point. It's not great for him right now. So I don't think he's going to end up making it. Who else was it that I said wasn't going to make it? Oh, Eason, the quarterback, who's now the number 4 quarterback. He had some, I don't know if he was the worst today. It's still probably Clifford. But Eason was another one that had a couple bad passes. And as the number 4, I'm not so sure that it's going to super pan out for him. What else was there? I think Jaden Reed had a pretty good day. Grant DeBose had the first big play of the day. I mean, that was kind of before they got into their 11-on-11, 7-on-7 stuff. But I know that we had somebody in our chat that was actually at training camp. He had mentioned the first big touchdown was Jordan Love to Grant DeBose. So it's good to get him on the scoreboard. Offensive line for the day, you had Rasheed Walker. Josh Myers is still out for a personal reason, so Elton Jenkins was kicked into center. They put Sean Ryan at left guard. Jordan Morgan stayed at right guard. Zach Tom's still out with an injury, so Kadeem Telfort primarily was in there. That combination has been terrible. I mean, I love the defense, and I think that has a big part of it. They're just playing really good football. But that combination is awful, and I don't know who it is that's getting beat up the most. I don't know if it's Jordan Morgan or Sean Ryan or Kadeem Telfort or Rasheed or whoever, but it's not working. I mean, our defensive line is entirely too talented. Tight ends, again, I mentioned Musgrave had made several plays. I'm trying to remember without going through all the notes who it was that had a really big turned up the field and ran. I can't really remember. Sean Clifford, as I mentioned, had an awful day. Didn't hear a ton about Pratt. I know Jacob Eason was a little up and down. Sean Clifford, again, just terrible. I think, so essentially, he was the number 2 quarterback, which makes sense. You just kind of shift everybody down, and I had mentioned that I'm hoping Michael Pratt at some point gets an opportunity. Well, Sean Clifford had a botched snap, I think, from Jacob Monk, recovered the fumble, gets kicked down, I think, into third string, and then throws a pick. So, I mean, he is really, really having a rough go of it. I don't think he gets let go. You know, is there a world where Jacob Eason stays and Sean Clifford goes? I don't necessarily think so. But it is going to be interesting because I think the automatic assumption is that Sean Clifford is the backup quarterback to Jordan Love. But as bad as he's been, if he keeps that up, you're going to have to figure something else out. I mean, this guy couldn't back up anything. And so, again, you know, my vote is Michael Pratt, but obviously he's very raw. He comes from a small school. There's so much learning for him to do. It's the only thing that really keeps me thinking that Eason has a chance to stick around is that they might need him to actually be a number 2, you know? He's not a good quarterback by any stretch, but he's been around since 2020. You at least want to keep your options open. The other slightly interesting thing, and there are a lot of injuries with Tucker Kraft and whatnot, but they actually started in 12 personnel today, so they had 2 tight ends, and Ben Sims was out there with Luke Musgrave. So kind of gives you an idea of next man up. I suppose that's not surprising because I believe Tyler Davis is still banged up as well, so Ben Sims, I think, would be next in line. We have 2 more behind him. Josh Jacobs made a couple nice plays. He was there to kind of bail out the quarterbacks once in a while, dump the ball off when things are going south. Still no Marshawn Lloyd. Didn't hear a ton about A.J. Dillon today, if anything at all, to be completely honest. Emmanuel Wilson did get banged up for a small second. Was kind of worried about that. He comes back and then rips off a big 15-yard run up the sideline. He continues to be one of the more impressive running backs on the team, which is all he's ever been since he's been with the Green Bay Packers. Defensively, I already mentioned, I know Rashawn had a sack, Kenny had a sack, Wyatt had a sack. Didn't hear from Preston, nothing good or bad. There were more positive notes about Brenton Cox, nothing massive, but I don't think I've heard Kingsley Enagbari's name once. I don't believe he's injured. I just haven't heard it. And so I've mentioned this since before training camp started, that I don't know that it's impossible that Brenton Cox or somebody else, Keyshawn Banks or whatever, could slide into that number 4 spot. We'll have to see how Kingsley performs in this new defense. And with all new defensive coordinators and everything, you know, there's no allegiance to Kingsley Enagbare or anything like that. So it'll be interesting. And I would say, as of right now, I would almost bet Brenton Cox gets that job, which is, I don't usually do hot takey type things. It's more of a gut feeling than anything, but I've just kind of been leaning that way for a while now. I think Kingsley has kind of, I don't want to say served his purpose, but I feel like we kind of know what he is. And I just didn't get a good feeling about him in a 4-3 defense. And Brenton Cox, I really did get a good feeling about him, in a 3-point stance. And it's kind of materialized. We'll see if it actually comes to that or not. But as of right now, I would borderline put Cox in front of Enigbare. We'll have to just kind of slow roll that. I didn't hear anything about Van Ness. Slayton, actually, kind of hilariously, I had mentioned the starting defensive line is probably going to be Kenny and TJ Slayton because I don't want Devontae Wyatt out there. You don't need two big pass rushers with Jordan getting his first snaps or whatever. Very first play, TJ Slayton up the middle gets a pressure on Jordan. It's like, good Lord, you can't win, man. I swear. Linebackers actually started off. They had 3 linebackers out there today, and it was Quay with Isaiah McDuffie and Eric Wilson were the 3 starting linebackers. I'm still confident that Edgerrin ends up being next to Quay by the time the season starts. I do like McDuffie. I do like Eric Wilson, but I do think that's the way it's going to be. But so far, it's been Isaiah as the number 2 guy. And again, today, Eric Wilson was that 3rd guy. Obviously, you got Mike Strong and Weak to contend with and all that. But Edgerrin Cooper had a really good day today. He had multiple big plays. Looked really solid out there. Again, I think he's been maybe the most impressive in all of training camp. Tyron Hopper also, not really today so much, but he's made several highlights. But Edgerrin Cooper, I think, has been the most impressive linebacker just based on my memory of what people have been talking about. So I'm really excited about him and what he's been bringing and what he's going to bring. Cornerbacks, I know Jair had a near pick today. I don't remember a ton else. I haven't really heard much about people beating up on Jair. I'm sure there's been a couple catches, but very little. It's been pretty quiet across from him. Keyshawn Nixon, again, the highlight was him getting into a fight. Stokes got beat by Christian, but aside from that, I mean, that's been just kind of a back-and-forth battle between those two. It's a battle of the speeds. Safety, you got Xavier McKinney. Bullard did start off again today. At one point, he was with the 2s or 3s or something for whatever reason. I'm sure they brought in another safety, so he got to run with somebody else. He goes out immediately makes a play. They stick him back with the 1s, and he gets his pick 6. So real big day from Javon Bullard today, which is great. Been excited to see these guys start to emerge, whether it's Evan Williams or Javon Bullard or whoever. And we're seeing a little bit of both. I think Evan Williams in like day 2 or 3 had his like 2 interception game or whatever it was. Real big day for him. Today was Javon Bullard's day. He had a real good day. Punter Daniel Whelan, I think, was struggling a little bit. He had one really nice punt, but he had a couple that were just a little bit off. Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph did not kick today, but as I said, James Turner did. He was fine, but I just don't think it's going to be a thing with James Turner. I was kind of hoping it would be. As much as I'm all in on Anders Carlson and all, it just made sense. Again, you got the Michigan thing, you've got the outdoor thing, you got the big game thing, you got the great stats thing. Like, everything's there. He checks every single possible box. But Greg Joseph and Anders Carlson have just been better. And again, this is Anders to lose, and he's not losing it right now. Outside of that, Keyshawn Nixon was a return guy. There was also, I believe it was Bo Melton was a big kick return guy today. I don't know if that's, I don't remember if I've mentioned that before or if that's a new deal. But anyways, that's my recollection of what happened in training camp today. So it was a real solid day. Jordan, again, it took him a little while to get into his rhythm, but once he did, it was fantastic. Defense is still just playing out of their minds. Really just excited to see these preseason games come around, just so we can kind of see all this stuff in action. But why don't we take our first break? We'll be right back, and I want to address some of the talk that I've been hearing with Jordan Love and this contract and people whining and complaining and everything else. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll be right back. You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service, your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons. That's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/tryus.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
So I'm very excited because the season is really starting to ramp up, and so the trash talk has started. I feel like ever since Twitter kind of changed, I literally all Twitter used to be is people that I turned notifications on. I would just see what they're saying, and that's it. On my PC, I don't have that ability anymore. It's not a thing. So all I have is For You, and it's just been a spiral of like political stuff, that and like people getting brutally beat, which I don't know why. Maybe there is like that intriguing thing where I can't look away, so it's like, oh, you must love this stuff. Anyways, I don't even see Packer stuff hardly anymore. But now that we've got football season in full swing, I'm like getting sucked back in. You know, I'm saying stuff, and then I get pulled in by the Bears fan and all this, and then now the 4U starting to show me Packers and Bears stuff. It's just everything's coming back into focus. It's been beautiful. But it all kind of started. There's been several interactions or whatever. But one of the biggest ones, so Adam Schefter tweeted out, Jordan Love and the Packers have agreed to a 4-year, $220 million contract that makes him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. He also gets a record $75 million signing bonus plus $155 million in new full guarantees. Deal negotiated by David Mulligetta and Andrew Kessler at Athletes First. Bears Nation, let's see, enhancing your Chicago Bears, the Bears experience, Shy Sports Nation, section, blog, social content, giveaways, podcast shop, etc. So it's a thing. Bears Nation. I don't know if it's a website, podcast, probably all the above. They quote tweeted that and said, "Don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh." And it just immediately just makes my blood boil. Because it's like, I get it. It doesn't matter. It's just saying stupid stuff. First of all, everybody, let me start with this. This is not the tact I took. Everybody knew what Jordan was going to get. How did everybody know what Jordan was going to get? I'm talking roughly. I'm not talking exact, but kind of. How did everybody know what he was going to get? Because everybody knew what he was worth. That's why. You say, oh, it's because it's what you pay quarterbacks. No, it's not. There's several quarterbacks who did not get this much money. Not even close. But Jordan did. Why? Why did everybody know that that's the kind of deal he's going to get? So the fact that you didn't know or didn't think he should have got this amount, contrary to what everybody else knew was going to happen, said was going to happen, and then did happen, means you're the dummy in this conversation. I've said this numerous times. When everybody and everything is pointing in one direction, and you're just not seeing it, maybe it's you, dude. Maybe you need to stop and reflect and say, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm just not getting it. Maybe there's something else here that I don't see. And there is. You don't see Jordan Love, or at least you're pretending not to. I know you saw him last year when you guys were freaking bawling your eyes out. You were weeping last year. Not only just during the 2 Packers games in which you got your freaking noses caved in. Not just then. The entire season. Weeping. Dude, do you understand how many hours I dedicated on my podcast just to hearing the voices of Bears fans weeping, saying we're never going to be happy? They did it again. I can't believe it. Every Bears fan knew it. And now we're supposed to pretend that I'm supposed to believe that you didn't know and that you forgot? Come on, you dummy. Anyways, I quote tweeted that. and I said Love was 2-0, scoring 55 points against the Bears in 2023, throwing more yards and touchdowns than any Bears quarterback in the history of the franchise. That's kind of an easy one we all throw out there, but Bears fans don't like it, so I like to say it. I said Love outperformed the first seasons of both Favre and Rodgers in their first seasons. That is true. And then I went to PFF. I said PFF graded Love top 10, 9th in his first year, top 5, 4th from week 3 on, and number 1 from week 7 on. And then I said, the hell are you laughing at? The amazing thing about this is, although some Bears fans did chime in, and we can get to that, the first negative reaction I saw from this didn't come from Bears fans. Guess where it came from? Aaron Rodgers fans. And I hate to even phrase it that way because I like Aaron Rodgers. I do. I don't want him to have success with the Jets, but I like what he did, and I can't wait for him to get out of football so that we can just say, yay, he's a former Packer and all that stuff. We can pretend he's a Packer. But right now he's a Jets quarterback, and I don't like the Jets, and I don't like Rodgers, and I don't like Lazard, and I don't like anybody that's with the Jets. Just like I don't like Devontae with the Raiders until he's done, and then he's the greatest Packer wide receiver of all time, maybe except Sterling Sharp. Anyways, these freaking dong holes, which I'm serious, I mean, I interact with Bears fans, and they sound kind of like trolls or whatever. I'm sorry, man. The IQ level is shocking to me sometimes when you listen to these Rodgers people who are just so sensitive about every damn thing. You can't just be happy. You got another one. You loved Rodgers. Great, so did I. And guess what? We got another Rodgers. You want to celebrate? No, you want to piss and moan. And again, I don't need to. This is how stupid some people are. So if you need to understand the psychology behind this, it's really simple. The Aaron Rodgers fans, as I'm calling them, have to come up with a different term. You could call them stans, but that's stupid. Whatever. They not only love Rodgers, but they hate Jordan Love. And it's not just so simple as to say, well, that's why they don't like Love, because it was Love versus Rodgers. No. They hate Love because they hated the Love pick. And they went all in on this, that Green Bay was wrong to pick Jordan Love. Not only was it wrong because we could have won a Super Bowl, but also just, if they're being honest, because it was not nice. How dare you do that to the great and powerful Jordan Love, or the Aaron Rodgers, excuse me. How dare you? And so they staked their whole lives on that. Aaron Rodgers good, Green Bay Packers bad. And the worst thing the Packers did, the absolute worst thing, the biggest proof that they've ever had that the Packers are not doing what they need to do to support Jordan Love, geez, I cannot stop, to support Aaron Rodgers, was drafting Jordan Love. If Jordan Love is the right decision, their entire identity as a human being is gone. It was the right decision. You can't live with that anymore. Everything you base your identity on, at least on social media as a Jordan Love fan, everything you base your identity on is that the Packers did wrong by Aaron Rodgers by drafting Jordan Love. If this is the right decision, then you're wrong. And it's what they should have done. So here we are. Until the day that they die, they will do nothing but decide that Jordan Love is awful. And they're going to try to attack it from many different ways. For example, we got somebody here that I muted a long time ago. And the only reason I saw it is because somebody that I didn't mute commented on it. And so I got to see that because, I only mute stuff that massively annoys me. Some people, they just say stuff that's stupid, but I'm not going to mute everybody. Anyways, he says, never in the history of the Packers has any quarterback ever won 9 games out of 17 before. Never has anyone beaten the Cowboys, especially recently in the playoffs. I remember you having an issue with Rodgers' contract, and this one is more than that one. Weird to celebrate cap hell. All right, so several things here. Again, number one, it's not even about Jordan is bad anymore necessarily, although he's kind of alluding to that with 9 wins, which is stupid, and we'll get to that. So they have to attack from different ways. Well, okay, maybe Jordan isn't bad, but the contract's bad, and you are supposed to be mad about it. How dare you not be mad? See, you're a hypocrite. This is stupid. I can't be happy that Jordan signed a contract. Oh, no, you weren't happy about Rodgers' contract, so you can't be happy about this one. Okay, so we're not even talking about Jordan Love anymore. We're not even talking about that pick anymore. You just want me to be mad at Gutekunst, and you want me to be mad about Jordan Love, and you want me to be upset that we don't have Rodgers anymore. And anything other than that, you're not going to accept. Let's go through this. First of all, and I went through this with 100 different Bears fans, talking about the Packers' record is stupid. It's stupid. And here's why it's stupid. Everybody concedes that the Packers got off to a slow start. Everybody knows that. That has nothing to do with how good Jordan Love or the Green Bay Packers are. So constantly talking about the record doesn't mean anything. In week 9, when Jordan Love started to figure things out, do you know what the Packers' record was? It was 7-3. 7-3. From week 11 on, they were 6-2. That was their record going on through the end of the season. So, again, their entire season record is irrelevant when everybody concedes they were bad to start the season. The offense and the defense, not just Jordan. Yes, Jordan struggled, as did the receivers, as did Matt LaFleur, as did Joe Barry in the defense, as did everybody. We know that. What does their 9 wins out of 17 have to do with anything? It has nothing to do with anything. It's just the only point of attack that they have against the team that they apparently like. But we can't admit that Jordan's any good. We have to say Jordan's bad. So essentially we have to turn into Bears fans. So we have to find out why the Packers are bad, and Gutekunst is bad, and Matt LaFleur is bad, and Jordan is bad. Everybody has to be bad. Because, again, let's also remember, this was a terrible football team that was being dragged by Aaron Rodgers, which is another thing that I've said for years is untrue. But unfortunately, now that Rodgers is gone, if the Packers are still good, that means then that wasn't true either. And that this entire notion that the Packers didn't do a good job of building a team, that the GM can't find talent and all that stuff, it all goes out the window because everybody else is supposed to be bad. Matt LaFleur is supposed to be bad. He's not a good quarterback or coach. He's just dragged by Aaron Rodgers. These receivers aren't good. It's just Aaron Rodgers. The offensive line isn't good. Aaron Rodgers just knows what to do with his feet. And then Rodgers leaves, and we have good wide receivers, a good coach, a good offensive line, good tight ends, and good players, good defense. All this stuff is good. That doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to happen. So we got to pretend that it's not true. No, they only won 9 games. That's not a good team. That's a bad team because I have an oversimplistic way of looking at things. Rather than just acknowledging the argument at hand, I got to straw man this thing. The argument at hand is what did the Packers become and what are the Packers? Same thing, by the way. The Packers are what they became. I'm conceding that the first 8 games were bad. I'm asking you to honestly assess week 9 on. Look at Jordan. Look at the offense. Actually look at the football team. So, saying never in the history of the Packers has any quarterback ever won 9 games out of 17 is a stupid thing to say. Even trying to be smarmy and sarcastic. You suck at this. Because the record is not a legitimate point of attack. Not to anybody that's trying to be serious. He goes on to say, never has anybody beaten the Cowboys, especially recently in the playoffs. Yes, the Green Bay Packers. By the way, the Cowboys were significantly better than they have been. And by the way, nobody's trying to make this about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron did amazing things, and he beat the living crap out of Dallas. Yeah, so what? Aaron Rodgers got massively paid. So why shouldn't Jordan if they're the same guy? But beyond that, have you ever seen Dallas get beat the way? I remember these things coming down to the wire. I remember Rodgers having to make unbelievable pinpoint passes with almost no time left on the clock, and the kicker having to make a very long field goal just to win the game. This game was over in the first quarter. And this is the best version of Dak Prescott that we've ever seen. Probably one of the best defenses that we've seen out of Dallas. Just saying. And then comes the home run here. I remember you having an issue with Rodgers' contract, and this one is more than that one. Weird to celebrate cap hell. Okay. Well, if you have a small brain, you say things like, this one is more than that one, and that one is bigger than this one, and so this one is bigger and it's bad. Bro, it's bigger than the contract Brett Favre got, too, back in 1999 or whatever the hell it was. Right? Why would it be stupid of me to compare Jordan Love to Brett Favre. Which one's bigger? Which one's bigger? Well, bigger would be Jordan Love. A lot bigger. But that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. The contract that they gave Brett Favre, was it a massive contract? Was it a really big contract? Or did they just massively underpay him because he's a piece of crap? It was a massive contract. $10 million per year. Are you kidding me? Nobody gets $10 million per year. And you talk about cap hell. The Packers are in cap hell. I mean, not actual, but I mean, it basically laid out as cap hell. When you, as a fan, you look at it and go, oh, we're screwed, $10 million. Why would you say that? Why would you say $10 million is cap hell? It's obviously not cap hell. We got running backs making more than that. I don't understand. Well, you see, what happens is the salary cap goes up. And so what $10 million is back then is probably closer to what $60 million is today. And so you can't look at things in such a simplistic way. You have to look at things adjusting for the salary cap over time. You also have to look, by the way, at guarantees. Aaron Rodgers got $150 million in 3 years, fully guaranteed. And he got that in 2022. Jordan Love got $155 million in guarantees over 4 years in 2024. These are massively different contracts, and Jordan Love's contract is significantly smaller. He got a smaller number of guarantees over 4 years, 2 years later. It's not even close to the significance of the contract that was signed by Aaron Rodgers. We'll take a quick break. I'll get into the specifics of that because it is kind of interesting. Beyond the stupidity, it's interesting to actually look at the magnitude of Aaron Rodgers' contract and what that would actually look like today. If we were to give Jordan Love Aaron Rodgers' contract, what would that look like? We'll take a quick break. Oh, real quick. I keep forgetting to do this. Real quick. We've done this a couple times in the past. I will be sure to try to share this on social media, Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. I had a follower, a guy that I've interacted with before, a listener to the program, but his grandparents, huge Packer fans, just had a pretty big tragedy. Their house burned down, and so they did start a GoFundMe. I don't know if he started it or what, for his grandparents. And I told him I would try to help him out. Again, we've done this numerous times on the podcast. Listeners get into some trouble, and I try to rally the squad together. If you can give $1, $2, $5, it all is going to add up. So again, I keep forgetting to do it. I'm going to throw it up on social media, wherever we can find it, and we'll see how much help we can get here. They're asking for $15,000 as the goal. They're only at $710 right now. So I'm going to work on putting together something a little bit more official. But I just wanted to make you aware of it so you can keep your eyes open and see if you can find that. And if you're able to give, it'd be greatly appreciated. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. So anyways, I read you what was said here by an Aaron Rodgers fan who, again, just spends all his days lurking around waiting for opportunities to cry about, how Rodgers is not properly, appreciated or something. I don't know. And then we get the Rodgers fan number 2 comes in. And he says, the same fans who threw a fit when the best quarterback in the league, a 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, and Super Bowl MVP. I mean, it sounds like some wrestling intro or something, doesn't it? It's crazy, the obsession they have with Rodgers. Like, I appreciate what he did, but good Lord. Threw a fit when the 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, and Super Bowl MVP signed for $50 million, are celebrating this absurd signing. Maybe he should have taken less and not be so selfish. Oh, wait, that only pertains to Rodgers. Good Lord. First of all, I never said Rodgers should take less. That wasn't me. I didn't say that. I've never said a player should take less. My critique was that he said it was a team-friendly contract, and there is absolutely nothing team-friendly about that contract. Anyways, I went on to say Jordan's contract is significantly smaller than Rodgers was. This isn't difficult to figure out. And then he responds with, Rodgers was the best quarterback in football, which, by the way, he was not. He did win back-to-back MVPs. He didn't deserve it in 2021. It was a good, not great kind of a season. But that also is not necessarily the only driving factor. We also need to factor in Rodgers is disgruntled and doesn't want to be in Green Bay anymore, as evidenced by the fact that 1 year after he signed his contract, he's forced his way off the team. He says, Love is the highest paid quarterback in the league and hasn't done anything. This isn't hard to figure out. Okay. First of all, he's not the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He is tied for the highest average salary, which, again, is kind of irrelevant because when you adjust for salary cap, he's not even top 10. He's not the highest in overall. Again, he's tied, but that comes with lower guarantees than most of these guys. It comes with, honestly, as far as strength of contract, it's not that big of a contract, but it's a big number. And so, again, if we're just going to be stupid about stuff, we see big number and we think big things. As I've said now 1,000 times, the actual top of the market is $64 million. He got 55. Whoop-de-frickin-do. So I explained all that, and he comes back with, so Jordan Love took a team-friendly deal because he's not selfish like the other guy. And I said, Jordan Love got the best contract he could based on the circumstances. It's not about taking team-friendly deals. Rodgers did not take a team-friendly deal. Neither did Jordan Love. They got the best deals they possibly could. The biggest difference is that Aaron Rodgers, number one, said that he took a team-friendly deal, and number two, specifically got a deal that was an FU to the team, and then turned around and tried to say it was a team-friendly deal. Because Rodgers' sole goal in life was to stick it to Brian Gutekunst for what he did drafting Jordan Love, which is petty bullcrap. So anyways, for those that are very confused about this situation, for those that feel as though there is hypocrisy afoot, because Aaron Rodgers signed $50 million a year, which he said it wasn't, even though it was, and that's what it came out to. He signed a $50 million a year deal, fully guaranteed, and Jordan just signed a $55 million deal, and this is supposedly a good deal. This seems like a bit of a hypocrisy going on here, if I may say so myself. Let's just look at this very simply. So I did the math using my little calculator that I created, which again just looks at the average percentage of the cap over the course of the contract with the assumed increase. So I'm looking at, if you take this, the $155 million guaranteed, and you look over the next 4 years, not just dividing it by 4, but looking over the 4 years with the assumed increase in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. Look at the entire thing, 2027, whatever. What is the average percentage over the course of this contract? Now, if you go and do that with Rodgers, going back to the year 2022, you've got this. You have a $150.8 million contract over 3 years starting in 2022. In 2022 dollars over 3 years, that would account for 22.36% of the cap. Jordan got $155 million in guarantees over 4 years in 2024. That accounts for 13.53% of the cap. 13.53 compared to 22.36. The differences are shocking. They're staggering. In today's dollars, if you wanted to give Jordan Love a 4-year contract that's had the same teeth, in other words, the same amount of pain that was inflicted upon the Packers that we had when we gave Rodgers a contract, it would be $63.75 million and fully guaranteed. $63.75 million. 63.75 times 4, it would have been a $255 million contract over 4 years, fully guaranteed. That is the contract that Rodgers was given. That is the same kind of contract. In fact, let me do it real quick over 3 years just to make it even more accurate. So again, just to be clear, Jordan Love in guarantees got $155 million in 4 years. The same, if you wanted to give him the Rodgers contract, it would have been $185 million over 3 years, fully guaranteed. So higher guarantees in one less year, 185 fully guaranteed. So what is that? 185 divided by 3. It's a $61.7 million per year contract over 3 years, fully guaranteed. That is what Aaron Rodgers got. Not this 155 over 4 years. I know it's more than that. It's $55 million a year, but in guaranteed terms, it's only about half of that. It's only about half guaranteed. So the idea that Jordan Love got more is stupid. It is so unbelievably significantly less. Not to mention, this guy is in his 20s, and they're hoping he's going to play for the next 15 years, as opposed to Aaron Rodgers, who is negotiating a contract with a GM that he absolutely despises. He's already said he wanted to be forced off the team, wanted to be traded. He is making demands about guys like Randall Cobb. You as a GM do not even want him on this team anymore because the guy gets under your frickin' skin, and yet you give him this contract that, again, is equivalent to 185 over 3 years fully guaranteed. And you know he's not going to be on the team very much longer. And he wasn't. But you give him the contract anyways because that's what he demanded. Because Aaron Rodgers had you up against the wall and you knew it and there was nothing you can do about it. So you gave him a stupid amount of money because it's what he demanded. That's what happened. So why am I celebrating the Jordan Love contract? For a lot of reasons. Number one, it's actually a very reasonable contract. It's a very manageable contract. After 2 years, I think there's going to be renegotiated or there's going to be a new extension given with a higher amount. I'm excited because unlike Aaron Rodgers getting that contract, it wasn't a back-breaking deal to a quarterback who is disgruntled, who has shown signs of not playing very well, who doesn't want to show up anymore, and isn't going to be playing football much longer. Now we have Jordan Love, who is the future of the franchise, which is the biggest and most exciting part of this, is the fact that we get to pick up where we left off. The most crushing and devastating thing about the Aaron Rodgers thing is that it was ending. And I know that Rodgers fans refuse to admit that. They didn't think it was ever going to happen. They thought that he could just play forever. But it wasn't a thing. He was only going to play for a certain amount of time and then he was done. He would have been done if he wasn't so pissed off at the Green Bay Packers that he decided he was going to go to the Jets and try to continue playing because he wanted to prove that he was better than Goot and the Packers and all that stuff. Whatever. Competitive people doing competitive people stuff. Whatever. It's not that hard to figure out why Packer fans are excited about this. And to sit here and throw a temper tantrum about, whoa, why weren't you this happy with Rodgers when he signed? Because it was an insane amount of money to a guy who hates this football team and isn't going to be here much longer. We don't even know if he's going to, last throughout. I mean, any way you slice it, this contract is going to be a swift kick in the gurnards. Okay, painful stuff. And it was painful. And we endured it last year, which is another reason why it's impressive the Packers were able to do what they were able to do, because they were carrying a massive quarterback contract with Aaron Rodgers, who was paid significantly more on our cap than Jordan Love was. Then the guy comes out and he's like, oh, well, it seems there's a discrepancy in your cap numbers because Wendell Ferreira is making the exact same point I am, looking at the difference in cap between Joe Burrow and then Lawrence and Love, where he has 21.53. He's like, oh, why do you have different numbers? Which I shouldn't have to explain this to you if you just freaking pay attention to what I'm talking about. But that's why there's a difference in numbers. But again, Wendell is saying the same thing. The Joe Burrow contract is not the Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence contract. And he says it's not being talked about enough. Well, on this podcast, I feel like it is, but for most people, it's not. Highest paid quarterback in football. Jordan Love right now does not have a top 10 contract. He doesn't. I know that the agents and Jordan Love and the Packers are happy to push that narrative. They're happy to push it. He does not have a top 10 contract. It doesn't touch Joe Burrow. It doesn't touch Lamar. It doesn't touch Deshaun Watson. It's not, I don't think it's as high as Lawrence. It's not as high as Tua. I mean, maybe he cracks top 10. I don't know. But in terms of the actual strength of the contract compared to the cap, no. This is not a top 10 contract. It just isn't. I'm happy for him, and in real money, dude's real rich, and I'm sure he doesn't give a crap. But from a being serious and being realistic standpoint, I'm very sorry to inform you, this is not the biggest contract in NFL hit. Again, in real dollars, fine. And not even in real dollars. That's not even true. In average salary numbers, yes, he's tied for the top. Congratulations. And listen, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Packers. I'm happy for us. I'm not trying to be anti-anything. But it's so blown out of proportion. We're just looking at it wrong. It's not this, and the biggest reason I don't like it is because there's this idea that, oh, this is such a stupid thing. Why would you give him this massive contract? Because it's not massive. He's got $155 million in guarantees over 4 years. We gave Rodgers $150 2 years ago. It's not even hardly as big as the contract we just gave Rodgers. This, I mean, again, as far as pain is concerned, this is nothing compared to what other teams have done. It's nowhere near the pain that Lamar put on his team, that Burrow put on his team, that nowhere near what Deshaun Watson put on the Browns. That is you talk about backbreaking. Good Lord. These are much bigger contracts. This is a solid contract. It really is. It's a good contract. But there's a reason it's not one of the top 5 and maybe not even one of the top 10s. It's because of all the reasons that have already been laid out. And if we understood that, we would look at it and we would see that this is a reasonable contract given those concerns. It is. It's a reasonable contract given the concerns that are laid out. This is not going to cripple the Green Bay Packers. And again, like I've said 100 times now, we're going to be miserable if he sucks. We're going to be happy if he wins, and the cap is going to be irrelevant. If Jordan is the same guy we saw in the second half, I couldn't give him 65. Just give him 65. It's going to sting in the salary cap, but I don't give a damn. But we didn't even do that. We gave him this piddly little contract that Joe Burrow earned last year, which again is significantly more. It's so much more. So this is not that big of a contract. It feels big because 55 is such a big number. And like I've said before, it's growing exponentially. So it used to be, it would take several years before we hit like that next, 10 number. I remember when quarterbacks cracked 20. I think Rodgers was one of the first ones to crack 20. And it was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And then you had like, what is his name? Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, and like Matt Stafford and stuff. They all cracked 30, and it was like, oh, how could you pay them 30? Oh my goodness! And then it seemed like we just jumped to 50, right? Pat Mahomes went and got like his $50 million a year deal, and all this crazy stuff happened. It's just growing so fast. We're already probably going to crack 60 with Dak. That's the word on the street. By next year, we're gonna probably sail past 70. I mean, it's not going to take very long before we got a $100 million a year guy. Just the way that things are growing exponentially. I don't know if it's 2-3 years or what. It's gonna happen, and we're gonna turn around and look at 55 and go, dude, you're poor. You stupid loser. Dude, you are so poor, except, he's going to get that new contract in a couple of years, and it's going to be... let me just put it that way. You're going to look back at this and laugh by 2026, 2027, when we're renegotiating with Jordan Love. Fingers crossed, by the way, God willing, that things go that well, that he's going to be new top of market money. I can't even fathom what that's going to look like. Actually, you know what? I probably can. I can probably give you a number right now. No, I can't. Well, I'll work on that to make sure that I can get the years pushed out even further so that I can make this work. Hey, give me 2 minutes here. Let me see if I can just fix this. All right, so this is awesome. I actually got it to where I can project out into the future indefinitely, so we can look at contracts in like 2500 AD. All right, let me play with this for a second. All right, so get this. If Jordan Love were to sign in 2027 the Joe Burrow contract, which is a 5-year contract that over the 5 years averages 16.15% of the salary cap. In order to match that, his guarantees, just the guarantees over 5 years, $304 million. That's $60.8 million per year just in guarantees. But wait. Fortunately, Joe Burrow did have a high contract in guarantees. It was 75% guaranteed. If we had the exact same contract, the total contract over 5 years in 2027, I'm getting them both confused. If Jordan Love signed a Joe Burrow contract in 2027, the contract would be 5 years, $381.7 million. Divided by 5 is a $76 million per year contract. $76 million per year. So again, we can hem and haw all we want about $55 million, but if he signs a contract in 2027 that is, again, a much stronger contract because now he's established himself as a MVP caliber guy. Let's just say he does. Let's say he is Aaron Rodgers. You're looking at about a $75 million per year deal with more guarantees per year than he has in total contract dollars right now. So just go ahead and enjoy it. All right? Just go ahead and enjoy it. I'm going to leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.